Audio Jungle.
It is week 15 in the National Football League. Welcome to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. I'm Andy McNamara, alongside Browns insider Matt Florjancic from WKYC Sports in Cleveland. The Browns have been able to soak up, and Browns backers, Browns fans have been able to drink in the success of a win after a 7-game losing streak. It was snapped thanks to the hapless San Francisco 49ers. Johnny Football looked real good. Running game, 145 yards by the Crow. Career best. The tops, 9 sacks for the defense. Second all-time in a single game. But, Matt, I get the feeling, just a hunch, that I don't think we're going to see the same output this week when Cleveland goes into Seattle to take on the 12th man and the Seahawks, who are looking pretty darn good right now.
Yeah, it's two teams whose seasons have headed in different directions. The Browns started somewhat quick by their standards, and by the other standards, the Seahawks were deathly slow. But the Seahawks have rattled off 4 straight, and they're now 8-5. They're right in the thick of the playoff chase. Looking at a wild card, as they're a little bit behind Arizona, but I think they'll get in and they'll be able to once again defend their NFC championship. This is a very good football team, despite their early struggles. They found a way to get production from just about everybody that's on the field. And you look at their offense, and Marshawn Lynch has not been a huge part of it, especially recently. They got good production from Thomas Rawls. He goes down with an ankle injury. Okay, Russell Wilson will just throw for 5 touchdowns. No big deal. I mean, this is a very complete football team. They're not 1 or 2 players away from being good, like some other teams that the Browns have played, or even themselves. This team is 1 or 2 players away from being elite on any given week. So this is a big step up in competition, and going in with a win might help build your confidence, but you have to put that in your rearview mirror quickly and start to focus on the fact this Seahawks team will embarrass you if you're not ready.
Oh, you're darn right. They put up 35 points. I think it was 35-6 against the Baltimore Ravens last week, and we know that they're no juggernaut by any sense. The Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns, brought to you in part by DraftPot.com, great daily fantasy site where you can play NFL, MMA, NHL, NBA, whatever, and pick your teams where you don't necessarily need to follow a salary cap rule. You can go fan mode, where you can take anybody at any amount, or GM mode, where you have to play within the rules of a salary cap. Put in the promo code BROWNS, and they will match up to $300 of your initial deposit. Now, also, our Twitter question of the day, and it's an interesting one, and we'll get into why it's interesting. Which quarterback has more to prove this Sunday? Johnny Manziel or Russell Wilson? At AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic on Twitter. Our Twitter question from the Doghouse, brought to you by Ball Sharks, a brand new daily pick'em sports site for real money, on Twitter at ball_sharks, ballsharks.com. Matt, we'll get to the answers there in the Barkov. The reason we bring that up, people might think, Russell Wilson's won a Super Bowl. He's back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. Well, what does he have to prove? Well, according to Cleveland Browns head coach Mike Pettin, he has a lot to improve on and prove to everybody. Pettin said Wilson's not elite and essentially is a game manager. Why the hell would he say that? You don't poke the bear.
You don't poke the bear, and you really don't insult an opposing quarterback that's coming off of the best 4-game stretch in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
He has the best passer rating of any 4-game stretch in the history of the league. He's the first one ever to have at least a 138.5 rating in 4 straight games, 16 touchdowns, no picks, over 1,100 yards, darn near 1,200 yards passing. He's completed nearly 75% of his passes. Russell Wilson is a darn good quarterback, and if you want to call him a system quarterback, fine, because he's not a Brady or he's not a Roethlisberger. He's not a guy that can transcend injuries and make, everybody around him just look like a Pro Bowler. But I will remind Mike Pettin that there is not a single receiver on that team over the last 2 years that with the back-to-back Super Bowls that was drafted at all.
The Ray Farmer model.
I would really caution him in throwing Russell Wilson under the bus or giving him a backhanded compliment by saying he's in that next tier. Yep, you look at that next tier, and it's filled with guys who've won Super Bowls. I would say Joe Flacco's in that.
Right.
I would say Eli Manning is in that. And I would say that there are plenty of other players in that next tier that maybe they're not elite, but they are damn good franchise quarterbacks. And to say that Russell Wilson is in that next tier and that he's only a game manager because they have a really good defense and a really good running game, that's essentially what the Browns have tried to develop but failed to do for a long time now. They keep saying, well, the quarterback is only as good as the people around him. Well, just because he's got good people around him doesn't mean that he's chopped liver either. You
Right.
can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, Russell Wilson is only good because of the system he's in, but we think Johnny can be good if we put a system around him. Well, that means two things. A, you're delusional, and B, you don't know how to develop a system around a quarterback yet because you still haven't figured out what your quarterback does well, and more importantly than that, you keep saying the trust word, and you can't trust him. You can't, and then you hear assistant coaches say, oh, we trust Johnny, we trust Johnny. Yeah, you trust him during the season when he's in the building, but as soon as he gets a break, you're looking out for TMZ going, okay, please let me not see my starting quarterback on here this week. So I would be hesitant if I were the Browns to continue to throw Russell Wilson under the bus. Any other questions, if I were the PR staff, I would advise them to just be complimentary and kill him with kindness and move on to the next question.
Well,
no need to poke a bear with a stick because while Russell may have downplayed it in his conference call with the media yesterday, his teammates have put it up in the locker room. You can guarantee that.
Oh, sure they did. And on Thursday, Mike Pettin came out and said, "Oh, I've redone my quarterback rankings. If anybody wants to see, like as a joke, but I just don't see why, when you already have so much stacked against you, you want to provoke a guy, as you said, 16 touchdowns, no interceptions. Matt, I don't care what level. I don't care if it's for a blip. Right now, Russell Wilson is playing like an elite quarterback. Why bring that up? You're right. You think Richard Sherman's not going to use that as a motivator? Like, as if the team needs motivation anyway, trying to grab a playoff spot and playing at home. You have that? Like, this could be a disgusting battle, and Mike Pettin's going to look like a fool if Russell Wilson goes up and puts out another 5-touchdown performance like he did in 2 of his past 3 weeks.
He might put up more than that. For all we know, he might actually go and break Seattle's franchise record. He's tied it twice, and he's going to go up against a secondary that is anything but elite after talking their junk all throughout the offseason about how we're one of the best 2 secondaries in the league. We might be the best. Well, wrong. Try again, because you haven't been healthy enough to even consider yourself to be a next-tier secondary. You're average at best, and that's a stretch to even say average because rookie wide receivers have torched you. Mm-hmm. Undrafted free agent wide receivers have torched you. So don't tell me you're an elite secondary when you think you're going to get help over top of A.J. Green and you sag off of him. Whether you're supposed to get inside help or not, let somebody like Tyler Eifert try to beat you underneath on an underneath route, or Mohamed Sanu. But for the love of God, man, don't leave A.J. Green uncovered. Are you kidding me? I mean, this team has been totally mismanaged from pretty much from October of 2012 when the team was sold, but it's not getting any better, and they're not making it any easier on themselves by going out and insulting or backhandedly complimenting an opposing starting quarterback. I have never seen anybody say that about another quarterback before. I probably never will again, but I don't think Bill Belichick would call Russell Wilson a joke or say that he's not an elite quarterback because he was within one bad goal line decision away from beating the New England Patriots.
Yeah, right. And even if he wasn't, Matt, like you don't give bulletin board material. That's a boneheaded player move. Not something that's supposed to be coming from your head coach. So in any case, all right, it's been said they're going to use it as motivation. Browns are riding high, and Matt, I just hope we don't see what we saw in the 2 wins earlier in the year. Remember, Browns are 3-10, Seahawks are 8-5. So coming off the Titans win, coming off the Baltimore win, when they were full of themselves. They came in soft, and the coach admitted as much. Like, do you see this late in the season with that statement win last week, albeit against an absolutely terrible San Francisco 49er team, that this team takes itself for granted, thinks too much of itself, thinks that they have arrived going into Seattle?
You're damn right I do, because I've seen how the guys in the locker room react this week.
Really?
Smiling, and it's Thursday, and people are still talking about the win. The quarterbacks, or the coordinators rather, started off their press conferences saying how great of a win it was, and that happened 5 days ago, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be full steam ahead to Seattle, man. I don't care if you are happy about the win or not. You don't let one win become a loss, and you don't let one loss become two. And, yeah, I'm sure they enjoyed themselves, and they deserve to because it was a win. It was a 7-game losing streak going in that they finally snapped. But in fairness to the team, I think everybody should have just said, yeah, it was a nice team win. We're looking to build on the momentum. But everybody went and gushed for a minute or so or two and said how great of a team win it was and how relieving it was. And we all know that. You don't have to say it, but turn your focus to this week. And if you're not going to do that, then I don't know what kind of good game plan they have, but they insist that they have a good game plan and they're going up to cut it loose and they're going to try to win a ball game because they think they have the game plan to do it. Well, you better back it up, because if you can't prove it, then all the talking in the world isn't going to help people save their jobs. This week has been very interesting from a press conference standpoint because it seems like people are in the I'm going to protect my turf as long as I have it mentality rather than focusing on a game mentality. There's been a lot of talk about, when we get to coach this guy next year and we get to coach this guy next year, and it's like,
hold on now.
For a team that's for a head coach who's saying, I can only focus on this Sunday, I should not be hearing a coordinator talk about how excited they are to coach a guy next year.
Yeah, maybe just focus in on the last 3 games and pray to the good Lord that you somehow, some way survive this, because I still don't, like, Matt, even if they win out, really, this coaching staff, this general manager, this front office should not have done it, because the fact that it took this long to wake up, completely unacceptable. To win 3 in a row, come on, that's not going to happen. But
four in a row saved Mancini's job, and they're on pace to do it again.
Yeah, except you're up against Seattle. And Matt, that is so disturbing to me. You saying being in the locker room and the guys still smiling, people still talking about the win last week. When you get to past Tuesday, no one should be talking about that. That's the mentality of a team that's not used to winning. That's the mentality of a club and players and coaches who are just, wow, what a relief. Before you know it, Sunday's here, and this game plan and this quote-unquote cut it loose, I really don't see this going well now that you mention it that way. And cut it loose. Like, what do you think Mike Pettin means by cut it loose? Is it to start another 5'9" receiver? Oh, by the way, folks, Darius Jennings, who came in and was off the practice roster, all highly touted, yeah, he got released. Dwayne Bowe still on the roster. I just don't get it anymore.
As I said about a half hour ago to a colleague of mine, this season will go down as one of the most horribly mismanaged years in the history of the Browns. And there's been some doozies.
Sure.
95 when they were in first place, and all of a sudden the owners announcing they're moving to Baltimore. They've had a couple mid-'80s coaching changes 3 games into a season. So it really is one incident after another where they've continually gotten in their own way. And the delusions of grandeur that these people in this building have is so disturbing on a number of levels, from at least from a fan base that wants to win as badly as Cleveland does. They're content, especially after last week. They're content. There's no real focus. I mean, nobody's like, I'll give Paul Kruger credit. He talked a lot about, going out and playing against Seattle and trying to play a good game plan and what it's going to take to stop Russell Wilson. But, Joe Thomas today is talking about whether he's going to play or not.